In a quiet Missouri neighborhood, behind the doors of a modest home, a disturbing story was unfolding. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's life appeared to be a heartbreaking tale of childhood illness, leukemia, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, each diagnosis more devastating than the last. But none of these ailments were real. Every symptom, every hospital visit, every whispered word of concern was part of an elaborate fiction, carefully crafted by her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. To the outside world, Gypsy was the embodiment of courage, a young woman facing unimaginable challenges with a smile. But inside her own home, she was trapped, her body and her freedom controlled by her mother's lies. The walls of her room became the boundaries of her world, and the wheelchair she was forced to use became a symbol of her captivity. Dee Dee's apparent devotion to her daughter won the sympathy of neighbors, charities, and even celebrities. Their story brought them gifts, a new home built by Habitat for Humanity, and dream vacations to places like Disney World. To everyone watching, Dee Dee was a selfless mother, sacrificing everything for her sick child. But behind closed doors, Dee Dee's love was a weapon. She isolated Gypsy from friends, family, and the outside world, convincing her that she was too fragile to survive on her own. Dee Dee's actions were driven by Munchausen syndrome, by Proxy, a rare and dangerous form of abuse where a caregiver invents or causes illness in someone under their care. Gypsy endured countless unnecessary medical procedures, feeding tubes, medications, surgeries, all orchestrated by her mother. Dee Dee even shaved Gypsy's head to make her appear as if she were undergoing chemotherapy, further deepening the illusion of illness. In public, the pair were inseparable, drawing sympathy and support from everyone they met. The community rallied around them, offering help and admiration for Dee Dee's supposed strength. But the real sickness was not Gypsy's. It was the psychological grip Dee Dee held over her daughter. For years, Gypsy believed she was truly ill, her reality shaped by Dee Dee's manipulations. She lived in constant fear and confusion, never knowing what was real or imagined. The control Dee Dee exerted was total, until Gypsy began to question the lies she'd been told, setting in motion a chain of events that would end in tragedy. When the truth finally came to light, it shocked not only their small Missouri town, but the entire nation. The story of Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee Blanchard would become a chilling example of how appearances can be deceiving, and how a mother's love can turn deadly. Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard was seen as the model mother, fiercely protective of her daughter. She convinced everyone of Gypsy's ailments with calm authority, listing complex medical terms. Dee Dee's devotion was her masterpiece, using Hurricane Katrina as an excuse for lost records. She isolated Gypsy from family, spinning tales of their indifference. The community rallied around them, providing support and donations. Dee Dee was a master manipulator, playing the role of the exhausted caregiver. Her identity was wrapped up in being the mother of a sick child, clinging to the deception. Beneath the surface was a woman with a dark past, lying and stealing. Her grip on Gypsy tightened, unaware it would lead to her own demise. Dee Dee's medical fraud began when Gypsy was just a baby. She claimed her daughter suffered from a myriad of severe health issues, including sleep apnea, leukemia, and muscular dystrophy. These false claims set the stage for a lifetime of unnecessary medical interventions and procedures. Gypsy was put on a cocktail of medications, including anti-seizure drugs, and was fitted with a feeding tube. She underwent countless surgeries and treatments, none of which were needed. The medical community, trusting Dee Dee's word and the symptoms she presented, never questioned the necessity of these interventions. Dee Dee meticulously coached Gypsy on what to say to doctors, ensuring that her story was consistent and convincing. With her background in nursing, Dee Dee knew the medical jargon and how to manipulate the system to her advantage. She created a facade of a dedicated mother fighting for her sick child. Before each doctor's appointment, Dee Dee would induce symptoms in Gypsy, using various methods to ensure that her daughter appeared ill. This created a never-ending cycle of tests, treatments, and hospital visits, further entrenching the belief that Gypsy was gravely ill. The wheelchair became a powerful symbol of Gypsy's supposed fragility and illness. Dee Dee insisted that Gypsy was unable to walk, despite there being no medical reason for her to be confined to a wheelchair. This visual representation of disability made it even harder for anyone to question Dee Dee's narrative. Dee Dee went to great lengths to maintain the illusion of illness. She shaved Gypsy's head, claiming it was necessary due to chemotherapy treatments. This not only reinforced the image of a sick child, but also garnered sympathy and support from the community and medical professionals. Doctors, despite their training and expertise, were ensnared in Dee Dee's web of deceit. Whenever suspicions arose, Dee Dee was quick to deflect, using her charm and knowledge to convince them of Gypsy's supposed ailments. The medical community, bound by their duty to care, found it difficult to see through the lies. To avoid detection, Dee Dee frequently moved from doctor to doctor and from state to state. She claimed that past medical records had been destroyed in natural disasters or lost in moves, making it nearly impossible for new doctors to verify Gypsy's medical history. In a healthcare system where doctors are trained to trust and believe their patients, Dee Dee's performance was tragically effective. Her ability to fabricate symptoms and medical histories allowed the abuse to continue unchecked, with Gypsy suffering the consequences. The deception not only trapped Gypsy in a life of unnecessary medical treatments and procedures, but also ensnared the medical professionals who genuinely wanted to help her. They were left feeling helpless and frustrated, unable to see the truth behind Dee Dee's lies. For nearly 2 decades, this cycle of abuse and deceit went unchecked and unseen. The facade Dee Dee created was so convincing that it took years for the truth to finally come to light, revealing the extent of the manipulation and the profound impact it had on Gypsy's life. Gypsy Rose's world was confined to the pink house, a place that looked cheerful from the outside but was more like a cage on the inside. The pastel walls and carefully tended garden hid a reality that was far from the fairy tale it appeared to be. For Gypsy, every day began and ended under the watchful eye of her mother, Dee Dee, who orchestrated every detail of her life. Her education was handled entirely by Dee Dee, who insisted on homeschooling Gypsy. Lessons were often interrupted by medical routines, and Gypsy rarely had the chance to interact with other children her age. The outside world was kept at bay, and Gypsy's only teacher was her mother. Her days revolved around a strict schedule of medications and endless doctor's appointments. Gypsy was told she was fragile, that her body was weak and sick, and that she needed constant care. She believed these things because Dee Dee repeated them so often, and because the pills and treatments never seemed to stop. Dee Dee's control was absolute, treating Gypsy like a small child, even as she grew older. She dressed her in bright, childish clothes and spoke for her in public, never letting Gypsy make decisions for herself. Gypsy's voice was kept high and childlike, her every move monitored. Dee Dee watched her constantly, making sure she never strayed from the story they told the world. Despite the suffocating control, Gypsy longed for freedom and connection. She would gaze out the window, imagining what it would be like to run, to play, to have friends and adventures like other kids. She loved Disney princesses and fairy tales, dreaming of a life beyond her own. In her imagination, she was a princess waiting to be rescued, hoping for a magical escape from her reality. As Gypsy grew older, the gap between her reality and her dreams only grew wider. She began to realize that her life was not what it seemed, and that the world outside her pink walls was moving on without her. The physical toll of the deception was immense. Gypsy endured unnecessary medications, painful treatments, and surgeries she didn't need, all to maintain the illusion of illness that Dee Dee insisted was real. Gypsy was forced to live a lie, denied a normal childhood and her own identity. She watched other children play from her window, yearning to join them, but always held back by invisible chains. The desire for a normal life created a combustible mix, building pressure inside the pink house. Every day, the tension grew, as Gypsy's hope for freedom clashed with the reality of her confinement, setting the stage for a dramatic and heartbreaking turn. As Gypsy grew older, cracks appeared in Dee Dee's facade. In 2011, Gypsy attempted to escape with a man she met at a convention. Dee Dee tracked her down, punishing her severely, reinforcing control. The internet became Gypsy's secret window to the outside world. She created secret profiles, presenting herself as a healthy young woman. Online, she discovered her real age and that she wasn't sick. The love for her mother turned to fear and resentment. Gypsy realized her life was a lie, trapped in a psychological prison. The desperation to escape grew into something darker. She knew she needed a more permanent solution to be free. At night, Gypsy lived a second life online, away from Dee Dee's control. She created a secret Facebook account, connecting with people her age. On a dating site, she met Nicholas Godejohn, sharing her life of lies and control. Godejohn became her confidant and secret boyfriend, offering a way out. Their relationship blossomed into a fantasy of escape and a shared future. As their bond deepened, so did the darkness of their plans. Gypsy felt trapped, unable to escape Dee Dee's control. The fantasy of escape morphed into a plot to kill Dee Dee. A desperate plan born from a desperate situation took shape. Gypsy and Godejohn's conversations turned into a concrete plan. Gypsy believed killing her mother was the only way to freedom. Godejohn, eager to be her protector, became the willing instrument. In June 2015, the plan was set in motion. Godejohn traveled to Missouri, waiting for Gypsy's signal. Gypsy led him into the house at night, providing gloves and a knife. The act was brutal and swift, leaving Gypsy on her own for the first time. They fled, believing they had committed the perfect crime. To cover their tracks, they posted alarming messages on Facebook. Concerned friends called the police, leading to the discovery of Dee Dee's body. The search for Gypsy captivated the nation, fearing for the sick girl's safety. The irony was that Gypsy had never been safer or healthier. The Facebook posts led police to Godejohn's home in Wisconsin. There, they found Gypsy standing, healthy and able. The truth shocked everyone, changing the narrative overnight. Gypsy was now a suspect in her mother's murder. The case raised questions about culpability and victimhood. Godejohn was convicted of first-degree murder, sentenced to life. Gypsy's plea deal acknowledged her role and the abuse she suffered. In court, Dee Dee's abuse was exposed, revealing a master manipulator. Gypsy was offered a plea bargain, pleading guilty to second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years, a just outcome for a life of abuse. The public reaction was a mix of horror and pity. The case became a media sensation, exploring the complex psychology involved. Gypsy's story forced difficult questions about trust and hidden abuse. Released on parole in 2023, Gypsy emerged into a vastly different world. Her journey is a reminder of the devastating impact of hidden abuse.